All right, we're back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be, just like that. Woo! It's the New and Blue, episode number 4. We're coming at you live. Rick Serritella here from the All Access Football headquarters. It is Monday, August 19th, 2025, and buckle up. It's football season, a little Monday Night Football preseason edition later on today, but we were on location for Jets and Giants week. We got all the insight, all the analysis, all the players and names that you need to know for the Big Blue coming up in 2025. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. Going to try to project the 53-man roster. Going to enlighten you with what I saw down there in East Rutherford for the second day of scrimmage. We'll recap the preseason game. But before we do, I must let you know allaccessfootball.com is your home for real football talk. If you're watching out there, we're going live. Episode 4 here. We'll be live each and every Monday on the YouTube channel. Hopefully you're locked in. Smash that like button. Tell a friend. Share. Subscribe. Go over to allaccessfootball.com. Check out our free newsletter. The world famous All Access Football Report comes out every Wednesday. Read by all 32 NFL teams. Subscribers from 70 countries around the world. We're international with it, but I stayed local today. I'm fresh off my trip from Monmouth. I saw the gunslinger Derek Robertson, quarterback on the 2026 NFL radar. Also got down to Chapel Hill with former Giants coach Bill Belichick down there in Tar Heel Blue. Got my whole draft report up on the website. We've been doing some NFL training camps. We were down on the enemy lines down in Philadelphia. I got the Eagles report coming. We were down in Tennessee to see Cameron Ward. I got my Tennessee Titans report. We were down in Carolina to see Shador Sanders play. But the rookie quarterback, and I mentioned this on my Giants training camp observations on allaccessfootball.com. The rookie quarterback with the most swagalicious attitude that I've seen thus far is Jackson Dart. He is Brian Daboll's guy. And here to talk to me about it is Dan Orlando. Each and every week, we bring him on to the show. Buckle up, Dan Orlando. How we doing today?
Doing excellent. It's a fun summer to be a Giants fan.
First time in a while. And I just, right before the show, I saw Abdul Carter's tweet from yesterday. Ate that mofo like some barbecue. He was retweeting the cheap shot, chip block. But I feel like, the players the Giants drafted this year, Dan, they have this swagger, this confidence, whether it's Cam Scatterboo, Jackson Dart, Abdul Carter, Marcus Mabeau. And I got a sense, I saw a little bit of that in Brian Daboll's first season when they had some success. They were kind of in the playoff hunt. You saw that fire. You saw that swag from Daboll. And then I think he kind of had some humble pie and it reeled it in. And we really haven't seen his true personality. But, man, what do you think was going through his head as Jackson Dart was spraying the ball all over the lot there on Saturday night?
If I'm Brian Daboll, it feels really good to be justified, and vindicated is probably a better word. This is a guy that went from coach of the year to really for 2 straight years, everything he's done has been questioned, and rightfully so. And one thing, that correlates to this is, over the past 2 summers, the training camps have been lighter because the Giants have had problems with injuries, and they've come out in weeks 1 and 2 and looked like they weren't really ready to play. And this year, while it's not the hardest camp in the world, New England probably has a tougher one as well as some other teams. The tempo has been up from all accounts, and he's playing starters in the preseason games. Russell Wilson played a lot on Saturday night. So, if I'm Brian Daboll, I'm feeling really good. I know Dart's my guy. I've hitched to his wagon, and so far, Dart does not look lost. He is by far not a finished product, but Dart has passed every test so far and is starting to make Daboll look a lot better than he has in recent years.
Well, that's Daboll's handpicked guy, right? So, he's got his guy, and now he's got to really pick and choose his spot here. They're going to give it a go with Russell Wilson. I love the 80-yard bomb there to Bo Collins, and then Bo Collins with the block on the touchdown run to set up the next play. I mean, you talk about that young man and what he's brought to the equation. Another rookie making a name for himself. But we said we're going to have a little bit of fun with the 53-man roster. We're going to see if we can come up with 53 names. So let's take a look at this quarterback room, because Russell Wilson will start week 1. We've got the Jackson Dart watch week 5 circled on the calendar against the New Orleans Saints should the Giants stumble out of the gates. That's the week I'm looking at Jackson Dart. I do believe he's going to win the backup quarterback position, and so therefore I'm going to say Jameis Winston at $4 million. There's too much trade value there. Like, I look at the Rams, Matthew Stafford, there's some question marks. There's some question marks on the other side of the river in the same building, however you want to phrase it. The Jets could probably use a veteran guy. I saw Bryce Perkins get picked up by a team, the UFL MVP. So to me, like, if you can flip Jameis Winston for a 3rd-round pick, maybe it's a conditional second if he starts so many games. He's not a future. He's not a part of the future of the New York Giants. That was a stopgap in case they didn't get a quarterback such as Russell Wilson's caliber. And let's be frank, you mentioned the last episode. Like, if it got down to Tommy Cutlets and Jameis Winston, I don't know if Winston's getting the start. It might be a Tommy Cutlet situation. So to me, I don't see Winston on this 53-man roster.
Right now I do, but I agree with what you're saying. I think if they do keep Winston, they have an opportunity to go from arguably the worst quarterback room in the NFL to the deepest in the NFL. And that's not a bad thing. I think what Wilson also brings you is that 2-year contract. He'd be locked in as having a solid backup next year, and that's not nothing, especially if the Giants plan on being real contenders next year. That being said, supposedly there's already been calls about Winston. I'll say this. If it's like a 5th-round pick, I don't see the Giants doing it. But a 5th-round pick or less. If there is somebody out there, and let's say the Saints, the Colts, or if it was the Rams. I mean, the Rams, talk about a reversal where this winter, all we were talking about was how the Rams were dangling Matthew Stafford in front of the Giants, potentially the number 3 overall pick, if not a future first for the Giants to give up for Stafford. And supposedly they were willing to do it. If it works out now where Stafford's not ready to go, the Giants held on to their draft capital, and now they have a quarterback the Rams want. Joe Shane goes from 0 to hero really fast. So,
well, yeah, I mean, and McVay's probably looking at it like, hey, look what Peyton did that 1 year, 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. You take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what do they got? Stetson Bennett, Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, why not for $4 million? Jameis Winston has some value. So,
yeah, I think a Winston.
Well, let me put this scenario to you then. If they keep Winston, where do you project Tommy DeVito?
I don't see Tommy making the roster regardless. In theory, if they don't keep Winston, could I see them doing it? But as we'll get into as we go on, there's so many tight battles where, number one, I'm still on the fence. I think DeVito looks good when he plays at the end of the game against 3rd and 4th stringers. I think he is. I think he has talent. I saw what he's done, though, in too much regular season competition. I mean, he had the great year as a rookie. He had the great moments, I should say. Last year, he had opportunities, again, behind a horrible offensive line. Did not look good. You're saying, like, hey, is this a guy that someone's going to guarantee a year's salary if they immediately on cutdown day pick him up, one of the other 31 teams? I don't know if that's going to happen. I could see DeVito being welcomed back to the practice squad. I do anticipate on Thursday him getting lots of run and getting lots of tape out there as a thank you. If not, either we're going to cut you or we're going to try to trade you and get something back. I just don't see DeVito making this 53, especially if Winston stays.
Well, we will agree to disagree there. We got 3 quarterbacks on the roster. You say Jameis stays. I say Tommy DeVito stays. I think there's some sweat equity involved. I think he knows the system. And if he gets released, I think the Jets will be quick to pick him up in a heartbeat.
They could.
Yeah.
If the Giants were to trade Winston, where it makes sense with DeVito is that, hey, now you're basically committing to him as your backup for the future. He's never going to be the guy that could possibly be your Brock Purdy situation. But if you keep him, this is your backup quarterback for the next few years.
All right, so we got 3 from the QB spot. We got teams in the NFL, such as the Cleveland Browns, who might keep 4 quarterbacks. So we're going to keep 3 in this scenario. Let's move on to running backs and try to project those guys to Turbo Miller with another impressive performance. The pass catch extraordinaire. Not so much running the ball, but you take a look at the running back room. Obviously, Tyrone Tracy is a make-it guy. I think Cam Scatterboo is going to be the backup and eventually starting. Devin Singletary had the touchdown run, making a good amount of money there. Is there room for a Turbo Miller? Is there a scenario where Devin Singletary is on the bubble? You got Jonathan Ward. I don't see a path to the roster for that young man.
I think Ward right now is to give them carries and get them out of the game on Thursday, where they're just going to need to hand it off in the second half. Turbo Miller has had a very good preseason. What makes me wary about him is that we're not seeing him so far, and this will be interesting to see Thursday, with heavy kickoff duties. Are we seeing him return kicks? Because that would be a very key path to the roster for him. That being said, they are using him as a gunner, and they need gunners. They lost Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Nick McLeod isn't on this roster. He was let go in the middle of last year. So that's an opportunity. So I'm bullish on him because they're using him as a gunner. But he's also that type of guy where, like, he makes the roster. I think Singletary makes it as well. When Scatterboo's healthy, he's in danger of being one of those guys without a game day jersey. That being said, I think we might not see Scatterboo until maybe October. It's potential. He's got a hamstring. Those can be tricky. So I think Turbo Miller does make this roster. I think that if given an opportunity, he might have a play here and there where he gets, some exciting yardage for the Giants. Just right now, I haven't seen enough that makes me say, like, hey, this is a guy that is the number 2 back. I think Singletary is going to have that role until Scatterboo can claim it.
That's a fair point. I could see that with Scatterboo. It's funny, injuries have a funny way of making these things work out. So
yeah,
we're going to give Tracy Singletary roster spots. In this scenario, we're going to IR Scatterboo for the start of the season.
Yeah.
And Turbo makes the 53-man, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Me too.
So we got 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. We're 6 deep into the 53-man roster projection. And now the wide receiver corps. And, I mentioned in my training camp observations over at allaccessfootball.com, the season, in a funny way, hinges on the health of Malik Neighbors because he's banged up at the moment. He's being held out for what they're calling work management load. And I'll tell you what, though, if something lingers, if he has any kind of hiccup, if he's out for an extended period of time, this is a very limited, I don't even want to say one-dimensional offense because it's not like the running game has yet to proven to be some kind of ground and pound, fearsome, brutal attack. I mean, outside of Malik Neighbors, there are very few playmakers on this roster.
So if I'm looking at the Giants receiver room and outside of Malik Neighbors, really, or the theme for me with this room is that there's weird blockers in different positions. And what I mean by that is there's guys who are slated to make this roster that are limited in what they can do, and they might be keeping someone that the Giants should be investing off of the roster. So to start with Malik, obviously he's a lock to make it. He's one of the best players in the league. What he has right now is a minor ailment, and that's fine. The bigger problem, which Rick, you touched on, is the fact that he always has this minor ailment that needs to be managed. Reminds me a lot of the Plaxico Burress days where he was just a guy that never really practiced, was always on the injury report, but showed up on game day. So the good news is that's what I expect from Malik. Once you get past him and you get past Slayton, who's a reliable guy, look, Wan'Dale Robinson's going to make this roster. The issue with him is that really all he can do is be a very specific type of slot receiver. He's never going to be a guy you can move out to the outside and have some versatility with. And that came up, where he hasn't really been used as a downfield guy before this year because of the Giants' quarterback limitations. And in Saturday's game, there was a 3rd down that should have become a 1st down conversion for the Giants, but Wan'Dale just didn't play the ball the way he should have. So that's something he's going to have to work out. After him, it gets really, really interesting. If you're looking at the Giants wide receivers, Jalen Hyatt, if he works out for you, you have this great gadgety type guy as your 4th receiver that can clear out the defense, the back end of it, and maybe have a big catch or 2 every game. If he doesn't work out, you got another guy that's a one-trick pony that always has hamstring tightness or some other type of problem that's just kind of eating up space and he doesn't play special teams. And then you saw Bo Collins. This is a guy that's the big body wide receiver the Giants have been hoping to add opposite Malik Neighbors, a guy that if they don't add him this year, they got to add next year, and next year's probably not the year to do it for a few different reasons. Had that big play on Saturday night. They're using him as a gunner on special teams. I think he makes this roster's UDFA.
Oh, yeah.
I think he makes it. We've been talking about Gabe Davis all offseason. They don't need Gabe Davis. They have him. He's going to make it. And then you have other spots too. You have Dalen Cambry fighting for a spot. You have, Gunnar Olszewski, who looks like he might even push Smith Mirosset out of the return role because he's a better slot receiver. You have Montreal Washington. I ultimately, and I'll end the suspense. I got Neighbors, Slayton, Robinson, Hyatt, Bo Collins, and Olszewski and Cambry making this roster right now, which might be a little bit heavy. That might change, but the Giants love stockpiling special teams players. I think they got to invest in these younger guys, and I could maybe see Hyatt changing this number because he's a trade candidate.
So you got 7 receivers.
Right now I have 7, and that's the type of thing where Thursday's game is going to come into play here.
So you have Olszewski over Smith-Marsette?
Smith or Marsette did not play on Saturday, and the Giants have publicly said that it was because they know what he can do. They don't need to get his tape out there, which, look, could mean they're trying to keep him safe. I think it's very interesting that Olszewski's getting all these actual wide receiver snaps. I think he's in legitimate competition for that backup slot role because they don't really have a pure slot receiver. They might not need one. Slayton's a guy that can move in there. Neighbors, they plan on using in the slot. I just think it's interesting. I think Olszewski's shown a lot. I think he was supposed to be the returner last year if he didn't get hurt. Thursday's going to tell me a lot about what they plan on doing with that 6th and potentially 7th wide receiver role.
All right, so we got Neighbors, we got Slayton, we got Wendell.
Yep.
Bo Collins, to me, you can't even stash that kid on the practice squad because he's going to get snatched up in a heartbeat. I mean,
and he blocks, and he can. Yeah, you can't put him on the practice squad. I think he's the type of guy that just it just didn't work out timing wise. He should have been drafted. He wasn't. Hyatt's a guy who's really, when I say 7 receivers right now, I feel like Hyatt.
I just feel like that's a courtesy call because he's a relatively high pick, but he hasn't earned that spot. I think he might be on the bubble.
I think he's the type of guy you try to trade, and somebody's going to take a shot on him that doesn't have a roster crunch because he does have the speed. And if you have the room for him, fantastic. If the Giants didn't have such depth at wide receiver, you'd be nuts to cut him. But I agree. He hasn't earned it. He's always injured. He's got a high ceiling, but I don't think you give up on Bo Collins for Jalen Hyatt.
I mean, the only place I've seen him is on the back of a milk carton. I haven't heard from the young man. What about little Jordan Humphrey? He just falls victim of the numbers crunch.
I think he does. I think the Giants have such good depth, and I don't remember the last time someone said that about a Giants position group, but they have such good depth at wide receiver.
Depth of mediocrity.
Yeah, I mean, you got Zach Pascal and who's he's not looking great, but little Jordan Humphrey is a guy that if the Giants are probably gonna have to part ways with him and maybe would like him on the practice squad, but I think he's gonna play for a team, and just the Giants are just not gonna be able to get him on the field.
All right, so we'll go Neighbors, Slayton, Wendell, Bo Collins. I'm on board with those 4 guys. I'm going to give you Hyatt just because I think it's, it's an ego thing. I drafted the kid high. They're holding on to hope. It's
hard to cut him this early, but
it's false faith. But okay, we'll give him that. That's 5. Yeah. I think Olszewski's getting run because he just got re-signed. They want to see what he's got.
Yeah,
I don't know. It could go either way. One of those guys is going to make the roster, so that's 6. Who was your 7th?
Right now, I have Cambry making the roster.
Really?
They love his special teams prowess, and the Giants under Dable have been under Shane and Dable. They've done this a lot at the linebacker spot. They keep a surplus of people who are special team specialists, sometimes to a fault, in my opinion. And like last year, they always had all of these linebackers active for games. In week 2, when they didn't have a healthy kicker, they made sure Ty Summers was called up from the practice squad to be a special teams linebacker. So they love their special teams guys, and I could see Cambry sneaking onto the roster. But I will say this is the receiver position is where I'm the most like this could change for me on Thursday.
Well, I'll tell you what, here in my scouting notebook for my training camp visit, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride, but he is a special team standout. 9 special team tackles in 2024, 17 special teams tackles for his career at Louisiana, 2 blocked punts, 1 returned for a fumble touchdown, and also was the holder on kicks and extra points and field goals. So
the more you can do.
That even got the dog excited.
Logan,
the more you can do. the more you can do. I mean, that's what it's about. So,
The more you
man,
can do. Thanks, Logan, for helping. Appreciate it. Okay.
so we're putting Cambry on the 53?
Right now. Right
All
now.
right. So we
It's
got
the type of
7.
thing where
7 receivers. That sounds a little crazy, but we'll see.
we'll see. I'm looking at one as a purely gunner, so that weighs into it.
Yeah. All right. Rick Serritella, Dan Orlando here on New and Blue, a New York Giants podcast. We break it all down. The new big blue G-Men, little tongue twister. But yeah, we're here each and every Monday. So buckle up, tune in, lock in. I see the live stream show is you guys are just starting to wake up to the party. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, share, like, tell a friend. It's them again. Hey, go over to allaccessfootball.com. We got the New York Giants training camp report. We got all kinds of on-location reports flowing. The training camp tour is in full effect. I was just up the road at Monmouth today looking at the gunslinger, Derek Robertson. Definitely a name you need to know. But we got the gunslinger Jackson Dart. We got 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 7 wide receivers on our 53-man projection. So we're up to 13 spots through 3 positions. And the tight end is a very interesting dilemma here as well. Danny, what do you say?
Someone's getting cut that is going to be a tough cut for the Giants. And I have it as right now, Theo Johnson's the obvious one. And I think he's looked good in the preseason. You love to see it. Second year out of Penn State. I'm keeping Bellinger. I think he's the best overall tight end outside of Theo Johnson. I think you have to keep him. Doesn't mean they will, because they've always been a little iffy with using him. But I think he's a very well-rounded, talented player.
Veteran guy, knows the system.
Yeah.
Not going to get you killed. I think you got to hold on to him.
And he's not getting the 3rd-round pick if you trade. Like I hold on to him. Fidone, look, a lot of people have him go into the practice squad. I don't know if you keep him there because he has such an arm length, a wingspan. I think he's shown some things. That being said, if he did go to the practice squad, I wouldn't be shocked. For this, I have him making it. And here's where I am keeping 4, but I always thought if I kept 4, it'd be Manhurts. I'm going to say Dulcich. I think he has the rapport with Russell Wilson from their days in Denver. This is a guy that had a very high ceiling coming out of college, and some injuries and bad luck derailed his time. I think if he's looking good, I think you have to go with that. Where Manhurts was seen as a lock is that if you're unfamiliar, you haven't been watching the Giants as a hardcore fan for the past, last year, he's essentially a smaller offensive tackle. He's excellent as a blocker. He really isn't used as a tight end in the sense that you're going to send him on a route. It's only a couple times a year you send him on a route. He's a very, very, very good blocker, but that offensive line is a little bit more competent than it used to be. And I think being he's on the back end of his career, you maybe go, look, we can part ways with him and invest in the future at this position. So I'm having him not make it in my projection right now, and I'm keeping 4.
All right. Well, we're going to give you 3 because we can't keep 4 tight ends and 7 wide receivers. It's one or the other. So we're going to do this. We're going to put Fidone down on the practice squad because, Thomas, you've been here all camp.
Yeah.
You know the offense. You're the next man up.
Yeah.
Right? There's not going to be an NFL team that's going to put him on the 53-man. So
Probably
you don't want to go hang out on someone else's practice squad. We love you. You just got to wait for your time.
Yeah.
Did I sell you?
I think you sold me on that from that. I think he's definitely not by week 1. No one's going to guarantee him for the year. You're right. So you got at least a week with him for sure.
Hey, Tommy, you get a 53-man roster. I'm happy for you. But listen, be patient because I actually think Manhurts for his blocking, I would prefer to keep him.
Yeah.
But I think, it's 50-50. It could go either way. Dulcich does have the rapport with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going to be the starting week 1 quarterback. They might want to throw the dog a bone. Either way, one of those guys is going to be on the roster. So we're going to go 3 tight ends. We're up to 16 guys on our 53-man roster projection. And we're going to kind of not lump the offensive line. We're going to take them in stages, but there's some crossovers here. By the way, Jermaine Terry, in case you were wondering, you're not on the 53-man roster. Sorry.
No, I could see, without Fidone, he would make the practice squad, but I don't know if they keep 2 on the practice squad. But we'll see.
It's gonna be a tough slope for
him this year. Yeah.
For Jermaine Terry II, 6'4", 245. All right, let's talk tackles. Um, a lot of this, I think, for the two deep is pretty much set in stone. Tell us how you see it, Danny.
Well, if you're a Giants fan, you're a little concerned right now that Thomas, he's supposedly on schedule, but believe it when you see it. And right now, he's not a lock to play in week 1, but let's assume that he does. I have him making the roster, obviously, and being ready is really what I mean there. So he's obviously making it. Then you're going to have Hudson, who they brought in and they gave $5 million to be the swing tackle. Doesn't mean he's going to be number 2 on the depth chart. I think Marcus Bowe may have earned that spot. And if Thomas can't go week 1, it could very well be Marcus Bowe starting at left tackle. But those are the 3 pure tackles I have making it. I also, once we talk guards, I have a guy there that could play tackle in a pinch. So those are the 3 tackles I have making the roster. Stone Forsythe is out. That's who I have making that.
And the Zudo, right?
So Zudo I view as a guard, and I think they're finally viewing
But he's
him
been
as
playing tackle, though, for these guys.
which no one can understand. No one. But this summer they finally started running him at guard again, and he looks decent. So they probably wasted 2 years of his career putting him at tackle, where it's like putting me at tackle. It makes no sense, but they were just doing it.
All right, we got Eleanor, Hudson, Bowe. We got Azuda making the roster, right?
I do. Let me triple check on that. I actually didn't. I had them at 9, but I had an extra tight end there.
All right, well let's see. Let's get to the guards. All right, we got Van Roten, we got Runyon, we got Neal, and we got Stinney.
Yeah, I had Stinney making it. Neal is the guy that in a pinch could go in because he's probably going to be active on game day. I think he might be the first guard up. We'll see. We'll see how Thursday goes. So he's a guy who can swing over the tackle if there's an absolute disaster at the position. Right now I have Stinney, and that's even if I didn't change the numbers of who I have making it. That could be a situation where Ezeudu beats out Stinney. I think that's one of those toss-ups at this stage. Kubas is a guy I have after making the roster last year, not making it this year.
Yeah, I have Kubas. Jake Kubas is out. Austin Schlottman is out.
Yeah.
Right.
Van Roten is the backup center. Most likely if Schmitz went down, which he does every year, then you're going to see Van Roten slide over and somebody coming in at guard.
All right. So do they keep a backup currently behind Schmitz, Hudson, or Morrissey? Brian Hudson or Jimmy Morrissey?
On the practice squad, I absolutely see that. But I don't see someone making the 53 because, again, Van Roten in a game day battlefield substitution is going to go in. But, yeah, I don't think it's going to be one of the two. And I expect because tomorrow is cut down day for the first 10, I wouldn't be shocked if one of those two guys was, one of those first 10 that didn't make the roster. But I do see someone, maybe it's Schlottman, maybe it's Morrissey, getting on the practice squad.
Yeah, Morrissey's got some veteran experience there. That would be my candidate. So we got Eleanor, Hudson, Mabo, Andrew Thomas I'm placing on the IR.
Mm-hmm.
Van Roten, Runyon, Neal, Stinney, Schmitz. That's 8. We got room for Ezeudu. And I think Ezeudu, the swingman, the versatility, being able to play tackle, kick inside, I think that's too valuable to let go. We're going to put him on the 53. So we've got 9 offensive linemen, okay, which brings us to 12, 19, 22, 25 players from the offensive side of the football. We're on target here, man. We're doing pretty good.
We're right there.
Let's flip it and reverse it over to defense. Dan Orlando, Rick Serritella. By the way, this is our first live episode of New and Blue. We've got 3 previous episodes that you can check out. We're going to be here with you each and every week of the way during the season, hopefully during the postseason, and buckle up. We're breaking it down. We're chopping it up. We're halfway through our 53-man roster projection. I want to see some comments. I want to see some user interaction. I want to see your feedback. I want you to smash that like button so hard it feels like your head went through the screen. I want you to tell a friend and share it and go over to allaccessfootball.com because we appreciate all the love and support. So let's do defense, Danny. I'm flipping the page. Okay. And it wouldn't be right if we didn't start off at defensive end because Abdul Carter, he's making noise on the field, he's making noise off the field. I mean, the buzz when I was down there at the joint practice session, anytime he even just steps on the field to get ready for a rep, it's like when Aaron Judge comes up to bat at
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium, the electricity, it's just a different vibe in Giants camp. But how do you see these pass rushers? We've talked about it. Maybe the best defensive line in the National Football League. Kayvon Thibodeau looks like he's got a little fire lit
He's angry.
underneath that hiney. But go ahead, rattle him off.
Yeah, he's angry. He went from the golden guy to he's now third on the depth chart. He's not a starter. I mean, he's starting, but yeah, he's not the focal point. So, he's definitely he's on a mission, and that's great. I'm getting greedy though. Like, I had a friend that saw that Azeez Ojulari got a sack on Twitter, and they don't follow the NFL as closely. And they text me about it, like, oh, he's having a good game, and I'm like, no, he's on the Eagles now. They didn't know. And I'm getting greedy. I wish he had stuck around, but I don't blame him for leaving the Giants.
He's actually been. I was at Eagles camp, and he's been non-existent throughout all of camp. Like, he may not even make the team.
He had the good game Saturday, but he's so interesting because he would come in, he wouldn't be the starter or because of injury or whatever. He would come in, he'd play 3 or 4 games if you've been watching as a Giants fan, and have like 3 or 4 sacks and then disappear. So man, if he was in the 4th best edge rusher, it would be tempting. But we have Golston. He's not really. I wouldn't say he's underwhelmed a bit, maybe from what they hoped he would be. And I know that's complaining.
Yeah,
it's complaining about a 4th edge, but here we are because we already know who's the top 3. So he's going to make it. I got 4 there, and Trace Ford is going to make the practice squad, I think, and be that guy that every once in a while someone's nicked up, gets that practice squad elevation, and gets a couple snaps.
Yeah, I like the Trace Ford. I got in my notes. He flashed burst, quick get off.
Yeah.
One of the first in the building every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's making the practice squad. Like, I'm confident in that.
I got Ford on the practice squad. I've got Tamon Fox on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And then Jeremiah Ledbetter. Are we dubbing him a tackle?
Yeah, he's a tackle, and I don't have him on my 53. I mean, this is a guy playing at the end of preseason games. Look, the Giants, I think, are much more likely to get a DT that's not currently on the team, that's on somebody else's team, than they are to keep Ledbetter on the roster.
All right. Anything else on the edge that you want to add before we move to the interior?
No, it's probably the position on the team with the least amount of question marks. It's just set.
All right. So are we going to go with just 4?
I'm keeping 4 for now. That's for them, I think, typical. I don't know that Trace Ford really has earned. I think he's a good project. I think he has a lot of
developmental. Yeah.
But I think if there's a 5th that makes the final, that might be someone that shakes free from somewhere else.
No doubt. All right. So we got 4 defensive ends. We're gonna move over to defensive tackle. I got 4 locks in Dexter Lawrence, Nacho, Roy Robertson Harris, Darius Alexander. You weren't so sure about Nacho in the last episode. So how do you see the defensive tackle?
So he's making it right now, and I'll also include in this. This is not the top guy on the depth chart, but Chapman, which goes into what we were just talking about.
Oh yeah, he's getting reps at fullback now.
He's getting reps at fullback, and man, I don't know if I like what that means for Daniel Bellinger, to be honest with you, because that was a role Daniel Bellinger could play. But he's getting reps at fullback, and he's really a pass rusher. I know he's a DT, but he's really a guy they could be using as more towards the edge, which I think it affects that number. But he's making it. Obviously, Lawrence is the lock. Robertson Harris his practices have underwhelmed from reports. But in games, he's showing something in the run game, which is something
kind of know. We know who he is, right?
We know who he is. He's making the team. Right now, I have Nunez Roches making the team, Nacho. Alexander, man, he looks like he's going to be more of a project than you hoped he would be. The Giants and 3rd-round picks, man, it's tough. But, hopefully he can
not exactly what you want to hear from a 7th-year college senior.
That's the other issue. And again, they had the same problem with John Michael Schmitz, where they're like, oh, he's a super senior. He's old for a senior. He's going to be ready to go, and it's taken forever. So, I think Alexander has a bright future, but I don't know it's going to be in the first half of this year. but he's making the team, obviously. And then Davidson can play nose tackle. I have him making it. He's had flashes in the preseason. Again, this is a situation where anybody at the back end of this defensive tackle group, if someone shakes free via trade or the waiver wire that the Giants feel is a better fit, especially as a run defender, you could be in jeopardy. I don't see Jordan Riley making this team. I don't see, I know there's guys like Garcia who've excited. I just don't know. I just don't see it right now.
All right, so we've got Corey Durden out, Elijah Garcia out, Elijah Chapman in, Jordan Riley out
for now.
DJ Davidson, you're putting in.
I'm putting him in. I think he's shown flashes. He's a nose tackle, which they don't really have a guy besides Dex to be nose tackle. And I know they want to find a way, which it's going to be hard, to not have Dex playing every 95% of the snaps just to keep him fresh.
So we'll go 4 edge, 6 defensive tackles. We're up to 10 defenders, right? And we've got to get through the linebackers, corners, and safeties. Rick Serritella, Dan Orlando, New and Blue. We break it down, a New York Giants podcast. All the new members of Big Blue, breaking it down, chopping it up. We'll be here all season long, whether there's free agent signings, comings and goings. We're going to be searching that waiver wire, a couple positions we need to upgrade. And I'll tell you, the linebackers, the starting unit's pretty solid.
Yep.
I would like to see them explore some potential reinforcements in terms of the 2 deep, but tell me how you see it.
Me too. I have Okereke and McFadden making the roster. McFadden had a rough night on Saturday, but overall, I think he's a really solid player for them. He is what he is. He's never going to be Brian Urlacher, but I think he's a really good player. He's a guy you want to keep on your team, in my opinion, that should try to get an extension done. So Okereke and McFadden, Muasau, they're very high on, and
I like him. I got him on the roster.
I got him on the roster. He's going to make it. Board is a guy that they should absolutely not play at linebacker, but he's a special teams type guy. They like it. They like keeping those. This is a position where, again, I had a little bit of a heavy on the offense, but we'll go with what we're doing together. And this is an area where I could see them adding a 5th guy. Right now I had 4. That 5th guy I could see being someone not on the roster, or Deontay Johnson, who had the big play at the end of the Bills game. He has a lot of athleticism, but he still struggles. Don't know how he's going to do against ones if he had to play on a consistent basis. He's the type of guy that if he makes the roster, I don't see him getting a game day jersey as often as he'd like, but I could see them keeping him, or if there's somebody that shakes free that they like, having that 5th guy there.
Yeah, I definitely see 4. There goes my pen. Hold on a second. So I think they're going to look to work that waiver wire, but we've got 4 linebackers, so we're up to 14 on the defense. We came up with 25 on the offense. We're up to 39, and we're going to move on now to the Abdul Carter tweet that I referenced at the beginning of the show. I see hasn't made its way to mainstream. All right, we're going to move on to the cornerback position. By the way, okay, just wanted to double check my notes there. All right, cornerbacks.
This one's
I see 4 locks, and then after that, I see a lot of fog.
A lot of fog for a couple of reasons. But first, to go through, I have Banks, so not in order, but Adebo obviously before Banks. Adebo, Banks, Phillips is the starting nickel. Flott's going to make it. I think Flott actually is week one's quarterback 2, so he's going to be a starter. I have Corey Black making it, and I have Trey Hawkins right now. I'm sorry, not Trey Hawkins. I have Nick Jones, who's going to be the backup nickel right now, so that brings us to 6. Now, why there's fog there? Man, Banks has just not been what they've hoped, and I know he's a former first-round pick. He's Wink's guy, though, and Wink isn't here anymore. This is another position with that 3rd overall waiver wire and maybe a free agent that's currently still on the street anyway, like a Samuel Jr. I could really see them shoring this up and bringing somebody in to make Banks a little extra uncomfortable, and I could see, a Black or Hawkins not making it, in which case – Black, for example, would probably be snuck over to the practice squad. So Thursday is going to be a big indicator for guys like Black. If Hawkins can even play, this might be someone who just starts the season on IR. I could see them adding to the back end of this. But for right now, I have 6.
All right. So Adebo, Banks, Flott, Phillips, Black,
And right now it's Nick Jones because he's
Nick
been
Jones.
playing as that slot nickel, nickel cornerback. And the Giants don't really have, other than Flott, who has not done well in that position. And also, this is a guy that may very well just be your cornerback too, a starting outside cornerback. And Deontay Banks may just be the first guy up, and it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I think Black is a draft pick. They're going to try to keep him on
Yeah.
the 53.
Yeah.
Trey Hawkins is a veteran guy. D. Williams, they claimed off the waivers from the Seahawks in 2024, a little undersized. And
They're trying to get him run as a kick returner. They wanted to get some of that on film on
I saw
Saturday.
that. Yeah.
It just didn't. Yeah, I just don't see him making it at this point. I think they have a lot of options at kick returner.
Art Green has got great size and elite speed, 4.36 in the 40. I mean, amazing athleticism. Began at Hutchinson, finished at Houston, but lacks instincts. Poor tackler. He's a project.
Yeah.
And Corey Black has got the speed and athleticism. I'd like to see him kind of firm up his zone coverage. I thought his zone coverage, he was kind of a fish out of water a little bit there. So, all right, we got 6 corners. That brings us to 20. And we had 25 offense. We've got 3 special teams, the kicker, the long snapper, and the holder. So that brings us to 48. So we're right on target. Man, we are right on target with the 53-man roster. In fact, we've got 5 spots for 5 safeties. What do you got, Dan?
I could see them going with 5, especially with
this was not rehearsed, by the way.
Not rehearsed, especially with the special teams versatility that those guys tend to bring. So, like Holland and Newman are the starters. Very excited for them. Think that could be a very interesting tandem. Not a lot to discuss there. Belton's going to make the team for the final year of his rookie contract. This is a guy who's a practice superstar, struggles in games like from a consistency basis, but tends to make those splash turnover plays. But in terms of being that guy that you want to put out there as a starter, he's disappointed. But he's also a backup slot corner too. So he brings a lot of versatility. He makes this team. Right now, I have Lane, Raheem Lane making this team. He's been playing a lot in the preseason. Not necessarily stellar, but he's had his moments. He's the type of guy that makes my 53 right now, but something unforeseen, like a guy they really like that gets, released on cutdown day. This is one of those guys that could be out to replace for someone like that. And then right now, Kevon Wallace, he's a trusted veteran. Again, another one of those guys that makes the initial 53. And I think both Lane and Wallace are those types of guys where you could see some roster gymnastics where, hey, they want to keep, there's a rookie like Scatabo, for example. We talked about at the beginning of the call. We want to put him on IR, but only for 4 weeks, not for 6 or not for the whole season. So we need him to be on the roster at 4 p.m. on cutdown day. So you let Kayvon Wallace know that he's getting released, but he's going to get signed again 24 hours later. Like, this is where I see those gymnastics going on. And I also see maybe if there's an upgrade they feel after someone shakes loose, it could be at this spot too.
Yeah, I think Wallace is a veteran. He's been around the block. He knows the drill.
Yeah.
And Lane is a guy I think you could maybe even start on the practice squad. He's coming off that torn meniscus. So there you have it. 53 on the button.
Yep.
And if you wanted to go 4 safeties and have the extra roster spot to jiggle around, you could have your 4th tight end, I suppose, or your 10th offensive lineman. But I think that would be certainly a waiver wire pickup or two.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked, especially at defensive tackle, if there isn't somebody brought in as a run stuff specialist, if the one becomes available. And I really think they are upset with Banks. Banks seems to be one of those guys that you have to keep, but you almost don't want to play. And hopefully that changes for him. But that's another spot I could see them adding somebody.
Evan Neal's interesting because, I mean, this guy, like, he's going to make it, but just by the hair on his chinny chin chin, because
he looks...
He's not a tackle. He's not a guard. I don't know what he is.
He's a UFL player. No, I think he's look, I think Evan Neal, I think if he had been worked as a guard, like he'd be one of those medium range guys if he had a couple years at it. He's not he did better pulling than I thought he was going to do on Saturday night, but that's not his strength. He's going to have his misses. He's probably like a really good first interior guy up on a lot of teams. But for a guy that got picked 7th overall as to be a tackle, that's really rough. So this is a guy that I see hanging around the league for another few years, but probably not on the Giants. But he's going to make it this year. I think you could have way worse 6th offensive lineman. And the Giants are going to get some value out of him. So if you want to look at it as glass half full, there you go.
Danny, we got a question in the chat room from Ricky Boy. He wants to know, how long is Scatterboo going to be out for? Any updates?
So his issue was he had a little bit of a hamstring issue. And then that's the type of thing where you really, I get he's a rookie, but in the summer when it doesn't quote unquote count, you got to be really cautious with that because hamstrings go from a minor thing to ruins your season like that. And he got brought back in after a little bit of time off. And then shortly during that practice, he left the field. I think the report said he slammed his helmet to the ground. Like he was not happy. It was a problem. He hasn't been seen since. He hasn't played in either of the games. So look, this could be a situation where he's ready to go week 1 and it's like nothing ever happened because maybe it was just a 4-week problem, but hamstrings can linger. I don't know what the degree of the injury is. The beat reporters don't publicly know either. So it's the type of thing where you might see him week 1. You might not see him until October, November. Hopefully for the Giants, he gets back soon, but it's a hamstring. You don't want to bring him back too soon.
I hate to say it. I mean, like, the longer he's out, I'm okay with it because his brand, his style of play, like, I've had people in the league say to me, like, his career is not going to last very long with his play style.
That's a fear. That's a logical fear. If you're a Giants fan, he's not a big hulking guy where it's like he's going to, like, his body wins the collision. So I do think if you're a Giants fan, if you get a couple of years out of him being a fun Ahmad Bradshaw type bowling ball guy, awesome. But yeah, I think there's a reason he went in the 4th round, and I think this is not a great way to start his rookie year.
Yeah, and listen, if Turbo gets those 4 or 5 touches a game early on, you might catch lightning in a bottle. I'm excited to see that.
I'm excited.
I want to see it on the regular season platform. You know,
I'm excited for Turbo. There's no doubt. He's the type of guy where I worry if he gets a game day jersey a lot, but if he's on the field, because again, I think Singletary is going to be like that next man up. But if they can work him in there, I think it's going to be fun.
All right, we got more of our training camp observations. I was down there on location for the Jets and Giants scrimmage. I will say this, for the first time in a long time, one of the points I made, the Giants are going to be stout up the middle of their defense, right? Yeah. Every level, from Dexter Lawrence to Okereke in the 2nd level. And now you got Newbin with Javon Holland to clean up the mess in the 3rd level. Like, the Giants are going to be much stronger up the middle of the defense. And that means something when you got guys like Burns and Carter and Thibodeau firing off that edge, man. The Giants defense, I believe, is going to hold up their end of the bargain. I think it's going to be a top 10 defense in the National Football League. I don't know if I can say that about the offense.
Probably.
Any parting shots for the people before we depart here, Dan?
I think, I find myself over this past week wondering if they had kept Saquon Barkley, what this offense would look like right now. And I was not the type of guy that really cared so much about last year because I didn't feel like it really affected the Giants all that much. Maybe it cost them a win or two. And I feel like the Eagles were an amazing team even before Saquon Barkley. So I never looked at it as a connection. But man, if they had a running game, and maybe they'll develop it over the year, maybe Tyrone Tracy is what they hope he is. If they had a strong running game right now, I'd feel a little bit better. You want to see Malik Neighbors being healthy and being out there. But, I think the bigger thing is this year is going to be, hey, does Russell Wilson, number one, does he keep them winning games? And does that become the story? Are they a better offense than I hope they are or that I think they're going to be? And do we not think about it? Or do we get to a point where it's about Jackson Dart just looking good? And that's, I think, going to be frustrating for the defense because the defense is playing at a championship level and the offense is not holding up its end of the bargain, it's going to be really frustrating. So if you're a Giants fan, you're hoping for more Russell Wilson moonballs early in the game, that the Giants are getting out to a lead early because the run defense is not going to be their strength, though, out of the two things. If you can put the opponent into a situation where they have to pass for 3/4 or half of the game, that's going to be where the defense puts them in a position to win those one-score games. So to summarize that very quickly, man, I hope the offense is functional, which it should be compared to last year. And then if the defense is upper tier, this might end up bouncing the Giants' way come the end of the season.
Well, you had to dampen the mood and bring up Saquon, right?
Yep.
And so now everybody listening is pissed off at you, but I'm here to deliver a different perspective because
Sure.
I've had this list sitting up on my laptop all week, and I knew I was going to use it for something. I just didn't know what.
Yeah.
But I went back and looked at all of the 2K rushers in NFL history because I know there's a reputation for how they hold up the following season. And I'm going to hit you with a little quick, maybe not so quick history lesson, but
Sure.
you remember Derrick Henry, the last 2,000-yard rusher, right?
Of course. Yep.
And so he ran for 2,000 yards, and then the next season he only played 8 games due to injury. Now he's bounced back. Okay, we'll give him that, but it took a toll on him, right?
Yeah.
So much so that the Titans got rid of him, right?
Yep.
Now let's go back to the guy that did it before him. Adrian Peterson did it in 2012. Okay. The following year, okay, I don't want to say he had a bad season, but he ran for 1,200 yards.
Yep.
So not as effective. Okay.
Yeah.
Same deal. Chris Johnson from 2,000 down to 1,300. Jamal Lewis from 2,000 down to 1,000 the following year. He actually ran for 1,060 fewer yards. Yeah. Terrell Davis back in 98. I remember that very well. The following season, after 2,000 yards, only played 4 games due to injury.
Yeah. Okay. And look, Saquon played through the Super Bowl. So not all of those guys did that you just listed.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's almost impossible for him to replicate that, but I think there's going to be some regression there. Anyway, I digress from the show. No. This was New and Blue. Rick Serritella, Dan Orlando. We're going to be breaking it down, chopping it up every single Monday. We got our first live show in the books. We've been kind of creeping in the background, so we appreciate your patience. Again, if you're watching on YouTube or the Twitterverse, maybe you're on Facebook Live, if you can smash that like button, share it, subscribe it. We're going to be going live. The All Access Football Daily Show is going to be going live 7 days a week. I'll be all up in your living room or wherever you're watching from 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. It's going to be no holds barred, a lot of exciting guests and breakdowns. We're going to be talking NFL, college football, NFL draft. Oh, baby, buckle up for that. Of course, we got Scouting the League is syndicated on the network. We got the QB Huddle is going to drop a new show tomorrow. So lots of podcasts, lots of independent analysis. In fact, it's our 24th year of coverage over at allaccessfootball.com. Just dropped the NFL Draft Notebook that comes out every Monday. You can find out more about Lenoris Sellers and all his NIL deals. Jam Miller with a injury there, Alabama. We got all the NFL draft rankings. Wednesday, we got the world famous All Access Football Report read by 32 teams, subscribers from 70 countries around the world. We appreciate the love across the globe. Oh my God. And it was humbling, Dan. I got to tell you, man, being out on location, just seeing everybody who works in the industry from the scouting side and the media side. I got a little bit of a unique background, but it's just, thank you for all the love, all the support, for believing in our convictions here, man. Sometimes we take some heat, but we stand by what we see, what we believe in. For Dan Orlando, Rick Serritella, we'll catch you next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, live right here next week. See you then, everybody. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.